everyone. I'm Kathleen, and today Larry and I are here with Rob Jenkins. Hi, Rob.
Howdy.
Hey, Rob.
So good to see you.
Hey,
So
Lauren.
good to see you.
Yeah.
I know you're in a tizzy because you've just started school, but I hope you're doing well anyway. And we're so excited that you are spending this time with us.
Well, I'm excited as well. It's nice to talk to grown-ups on a
Right.
Zoom call for once.
We're grown up?
Yes.
No.
Well, I always like to think in the beginning before we start, like how I met the person that we're interviewing. And I just remember you doing lots of shows at RLT. And so I think
Yes.
I knew you on stage as an actor and me in an audience, way. And then you were a teacher for RLT. So that's how I think we got to really know each other. But
Yes.
yeah. Larry, what about you?
I had done a show at RLT in 92, but I moved back and I did Getting Out, and I met you. I knew of you because you and Scotty were doing a play at the same time, rehearsals. But Bunny and Jack had a Christmas party. I met you at that
Yes.
time and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Your memory's better than mine, Larry.
That's great. So Rob, tell us.
Yes.
How was your journey into theater? Tell me how you got the acting bug, the teaching theater bug. Tell us your scoop.
I had two levels entry into the theater. One, the first play I was ever in was when I was 8, I believe, in Chevy, North Carolina. I played a Cub Scout in a parade scene in a play that was written by the local theater teacher, Richard Deadman, R.I.P. And there was just a parade scene and they needed Cub Scouts. So I was a Cub Scout and I kind of I didn't get to carry the flag, which is a big bummer. I was really looking forward to that. So my theatrical journey started with a letdown, but nowhere to go but up from there, I guess. And then I liked the feeling of that, but I didn't really see any clear inroads, so I didn't do theater again for a long time. Until I was very bad at the violin in middle school. So then I said, well, but I like music, so I said, well, I'll do chorus maybe. So I got into chorus, and I did well in chorus. And in Shelby at the time, they had a a junior high school and a high school. So ninth graders were not at the big high school.
Right.
I was in the ninth grade, and they were doing George M. And they needed more guys. Imagine that.
Oh, yeah.
So they went down. The chorus teacher who taught at the junior high and the high school came back and said, are there any chorus people who'd be interested? I went, I'll do it. And so I went up and as a ninth grader, as a junior high student, got to be in the play with the high school students. And
So cool.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So, and after that, it was like stepping on a treadmill that was going full speed. I just, like George Jetson.
Yeah.
Just flipping.
When did you meet Brian Harville back then?
I can't remember exactly when I met him.
Right.
I remember hanging out with him a lot. I'd go over to his house and we'd do makeup and write scripts. And
Wow,
we were very into the horror monsters at that point. I remember doing a good Frankenstein and Dracula and,
He has a coffin in his house
cosplay,
now.
Ah!
That's hysterical.
Yeah, again, my memory, I don't remember exactly how I met Brian. It feels to me I've just always known him.
Yeah.
Well, you brought back a memory I haven't thought of in a very long time. I was also bad at the violin, but I was in 3rd grade and we had to take an instrument, and I would be in my room in front of my long mirror with the violin practicing. And when the year was over, they asked us if we wanted to take it again. And my mother said, no. So I was done. That was me.
So after high school and maybe college, what was the first show you were in that maybe you auditioned for it?
After college?
Yes.
The first show I ever did in Raleigh was It's Only a Play at Theater in the Park.
Oh, wow.
18,000 years ago.
Right.
And yeah, because when I first moved to Raleigh, I said, I'm not going to do theater for a while because I was a new teacher and I really wanted to focus on doing a good job.
Right.
There was a 2 or 3 year span there after having done play after play as a theater education major in college. I was doing plays all the time, workshops, directing projects, this, that, and the other. And then I told myself, no, I think I really want to focus and be a professional and do a good job. And so there's a 3 year span where I didn't do anything. And then, oh no, I was out with some friends or something and just saw that and went, huh, wait a minute. And it just kind of hit me like, wait a minute, wake up, dummy, you've not done a play in a while. And so, I did. And then from there, I went to the Foreigner at RLT, I think.
Right.
Yes.
Very fun. Did you have a mentor?
Yes and no. I mentioned the theater teacher in Shelby, North Carolina, or as the people say, Chevy, North Carolina. His name was Richard Dedman, and he was a very ascot sort of gentleman, right? He always had an ascot and a blazer, and he was just one of those. He's always very presentable and very knowledgeable about theater. And when I was in 9th grade, I worked with him doing George M. And he and I spoke, and he said, well, I hope you'll be doing theater, when you move. And oh yeah, I'll be doing when I come to high school. Great, most certainly. And then my sophomore year, I worked with him and did a lot of technical theater with him as well, because you got to pay your dues.
Yeah.
I ended up really digging it, so it worked out. And then sadly, he passed away, just as he was becoming a mentor. And then the English teacher took over, and she was wonderful, Kara Elmore. And she was a mentor of sorts, but being an English person, approaching it from a English teacher standpoint, she did not. I keep umming.
Right.
She didn't have the mentorship. I ended up having a cadre of them when I started doing community theater in Shelby, Cleveland County Community Theater. And everybody there was just, oh, hey, come on in. Because I was this young little pudgy nerd boy going, I want to be a singing, dancing boy person. They're like, come on in, guy, you're weird. We dig you. And
That's great.
I mean, you all know Tim Cherry. That's how I met Tim.
Wow.
And 18 million other people, Stan and Reba, just the whole community was, because I think Shelby's such a small town that everybody that was interested in it sort of glommed onto each other for dear life. And they could sense this kindred spirit. So I didn't have one, I had a bunch.
I love that.
After Richard's passing.
And then I'll move to Raleigh.
That's right. And has anyone given you great acting advice?
The advice, I thought about this because in building up for this, I thought, and the main thing I got from them, because most of those people weren't trained actors. They weren't theater majors at all. They were people who wanted to do it as an avocation. And the main thing I got from them was just find the joy in it. Because they weren't, a lot of people who are trained get so caught up, I think, in, and I'm not meaning to deride this, but the process and my acting work, and that is very important. But I think sometimes when we do that, we lose sight of there is joy in it. And it's hard work, but hard work without joy is drudgery. So that's the main thing I remember from them, because there were just parties and get-togethers, and it didn't matter if you were a senior in high school or a 38-year-old woman. Everybody was just, you go to the parties together, somebody played the piano, everybody sang, show up and paint. It was just this big, almost a theatrical commune spirit. And
I missed that.
Isn't it? Yeah. Oh yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah.
It was lovely. A lot of beautiful, beautiful people.
Mm.
Do you have a favorite theater or film actor?
Yeah. And I started thinking about that too, and it's not who I thought it would be. I kept coming back to Jeff Daniels.
Second person that said Jeff Daniels in the series.
Because watching him, some of the speech, like in Pleasantville, some of the speeches he did in that just broke your heart. And then he does Dumb and Dumber with fart humor. It's like, what can't he do?
Right.
To Kill a Mockingbird, Oh, what was the HBO program with the
Yeah, Newsroom.
Newsroom? I was about to say
Right.
Newsweek, but
Yeah.
I mean, just everything he does is perfect,
Right.
and nothing taints him. A lot of people only see Barney Fife as Barney Fife. I mean, Don Knotts, you can't see him as anything else.
Right.
And to a lesser actor, that could have happened to Jeff Daniels when he was in Dumb and Dumber movies.
Right.
Oh, that shtick boy. No,
Yeah.
he approaches everything
Yeah.
with his professionalism, with that joy again, as you see again in the slapstick comedies, that it just works, and just his range, everything.
He did Fifth of July on Broadway in the early
Yeah.
'80s, and then did Terms of Endearment.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And really could do the everyman, the one that was not quite strong, could be, has a great character, great actor.
Like Jimmy Stewart.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Rob, do you have a worst audition story you would like to share?
Oh God. I suck. Can I say suck?
Yeah.
I suck at auditions.
Oh.
I suck. I'm terrible. I'm terrible at them. So I got a lot. One, I know when I auditioned for Best Little Whorehouse in Texas at RLT, I straight up went up on my audition song. I was singing, I think it was Thank God I'm a Country Boy, because I didn't want to sing something from the show, but I wanted it country themed, and I couldn't find a lot of Broadway country themed stuff that was in my range and good for me. So I thought, well, it's fine. Nobody's gonna care. And I just went up. Luckily, the pianist, I think, was it Julie Flincham?
Oh.
I believe it was Julie Flincham.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think came in with singing with the harmony. I'm like, oh, there it was. So I started singing melody. She started singing harmony, and I finished with going, okay, I hope you enjoyed your accompanist's audition. Thank you. Ended up getting into play though, so it couldn't have been too bad.
At RLT?
Yes, at RLT. It was an amphitheater program.
Yeah.
We had to run around in underpants. It was like in April, and it was cold during all the, in the whorehouse scenes when the football team wins and they run out at the end of the first act, and everybody's in boxing shorts and lingerie, and it was straight up like 30 degrees. Everybody was freezing.
Goosebumples.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
What is your favorite show you've been in, and why?
Again, a bunch, but I keep coming back to Urinetown.
I think that would be it, right?
Yeah.
I really love Robert Bridegroom as well for a bunch of different reasons. But the same thing happened in Urinetown. Just everybody was just on the same page. Everybody, again, came to work, have fun, but work. But everyone bought into the premise that Haskell was laying out. There wasn't anybody's, well, I think I should. Everybody just was going straight forward. I love the play in general, just the layers of it, the meta referencing. It's so clever. Cole Portery and its clever wordplay, whom I also love. And then just the performances working with all the people there.
Well, you were amazing.
Well,
You were amazing, really. Just totally enjoyed it. In fact, I actually came back to see it a second time because I thought that cast was just incredible. Really was.
Oh yeah, but it's one of those. A lot of times, especially in community theater, it's hard to get a solid cast top to bottom just because of types and people. And I think he did there was everybody at least fit well enough.
Yeah.
As I know, I've done plays before. They've cast the 18-year-old as the geriatric person. Like, well, what are you gonna do?
I know.
And there's a willing suspension of disbelief, but
Yeah.
But it wasn't the case with this. Everybody was there. And top to bottom, the music, Linda Velto was there, and Rick did the set, the periactoid that turned. Every single piece just clicked. And that it's so rare that happens. Theater, such as such a collaborative art that so many things have to hit just right to get that perfect program. And it rarely happens. most of the time I'm the one that's, you know, with that wheel on the shopping cart that makes you do this. But it didn't happen. And everybody from the moment they walked in were, yep, here we are.
Here we are.
Boom. It hit the ground running. It was beautiful.
I'm just curious, when you've done a show and it doesn't click, how long does it take you long to get over it? When you say, okay, that show did not work.
No. I mean, you try not to take that to heart because, you know, not everything's going to work. Not every activity you do, if you want to make a sports analogy, you're not going to win every game.
Right.
And you can't beat yourself up over it. You know, you did your best. You may go back and parse, well, is there something I can do better?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you break it down.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I mean, unless it's somebody who's just bringing a bad vibe, man.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing can bring the whole cast down. But if everybody's clicking and working and they cast it as best they could, and it just doesn't quite click, it's like doing Meisner preps. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And if they don't, you don't beat yourself up. You just fall back on the technique and say, okay, I'm going to do this now.
Right.
And do the best you can. Because sitting there and crying about it ain't going to do no good.
No.
Well, Lawrence Olivier's had some bad shows. Is there a role you've always wanted to play?
Nathan Detroit.
Oh, really?
Nathan Detroit and Fred Graham from Kiss Me Kate. I'd love to do both of those. I've been a huge fan. I read, before I saw Guys and Dolls at all, I had read all of Damon Runyon's stories. I just love, it's got a magical realism to it.
Right.
Which I love. Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I just love magical realism. And I found those in the Damon Runyon stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Frank Lesser translated that feeling very well into that play with the characters, over the top yet still believable and realistic. Right. So I'm just in love with it. I could sing you the whole show right now from the beginning to the end. I shan't, but I could.
Why Nathan and not Skye Matheson? I mean, Skye.
I've done Skye.
Yeah.
In a horrible bit of poor casting.
Yeah.
But I've done that part, and it's wonderful, and it's beautiful, and it was fun to sing and fun to play. But I feel like Nathan.
Yeah.
Certain things just resonate with you when you. I don't like high tinkly wind chimes.
Oh.
They don't resonate with me. I like the big, either bamboo ones or big deep ones. And you're walking through the home and garden center and you hear the big deep or the bamboo wind chimes tinkle and you're like, ooh, yeah, I like that. That's how I am. As soon as I saw Guys and Dolls and saw Nathan Detroit, I went, ooh, I like that part.
I like My Time of Day is one of my favorite songs.
Oh, Skye's got some beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, beautiful lyrics. That whole Scarsdale Galahad line, that tickles me. I love it. But I think I had to act a lot more to do Skye Masterson because that's not right here in my wheelhouse.
Right.
So I had to focus and work. And Nathan, I would just put on a hat and walk around and go, whoa. Because it's kind of who I am anyway. Just that.
So Rob, when you're on stage, you've been on stage with lots and lots of different people. What's the best type of actor to be on there with?
Present. It's present. I just had this conversation with a friend the other day. I said, I knew in the audition with him. I walked in the audition and he and I did a scene together and automatically we're on the same wavelength. We were singing it wasn't a musical audition, it was a straight play. We're singing just perfect harmony. Our voices blended perfectly. I knew how he was going to say it before he said it. And I mean, we were both on the same tightrope kind of feel. I was like that with Melissa Little Sally in Urinetown. I didn't have to, both of us, again, we're on the same wavelength, so I could try a little bit of shtick and she would go, oh yes, aha, here's it back. And it just worked. Present, listening, not afraid to try stuff. Some people, they're doing it, this is the way I do it, and then they get in the habit of doing it, and I'm guilty of that myself. I'm not meaning to cast a dispersion on those people. Everybody does it. But the people that can, if they notice you doing that, walk up and like hit the ball with a little bit of spin and make you go, whoa, hey, oh yeah, oh the
Yeah.
big song. Those people that give on stage, most of the, and you can tell that I think when you're watching a play as well, the actors that give are the ones that I end up watching, not the people they're giving it to, because there's something, the collaborative art of theater, something everybody has to give to make it work. So the people that are truly giving the most are the ones that are the most fun to be with, that I think create the best product, the best art, the ones that make it easy to be around. They make your job easier.
Absolutely. They create the best atmosphere for you to work in.
You
Oh,
pass,
yeah.
pass the torch to the other person.
Well, and not even, I mean, there's the whole climate aspect of setting a convivial tone, but also just, I mean, in getting the work done, that you have to work less with a great scene partner who's listening to you, because then they respond and then you've got something to respond to, and it builds and builds and builds, instead of, here's my thing, here's my line, and they, you're like, okay, they didn't get that. And then you feel like you start overacting and doing too much, whereas if it's the giving and the back and the forth, then it becomes a truly collaborative thing and not just, I'm acting.
Right.
It becomes art.
You know, we all have great moments on stage. Can you tell us a couple great moments?
Yeah, that's what I had trouble with, because being the neurotic I am, I tend to remember all of the screw ups. I loved the moment in Urinetown where we, spoiler alert, where we lock, stock, and barrel throw Bobby Strong off. They send him to Urinetown, and I don't know, out of nowhere, I just held Beryl's hand and acted like I was sexually excited by killing him. I was like, oh, I went, oh, that tickled me. I love to do it when we did Arsenic and Old Lace at Raleigh Old Theater. I was Teddy.
I saw that.
I still keep this mannerism. I can't leave it. And I decided that, well, he's the president. Where's the vice president? So I made up an imaginary friend I called Mr. Vice President. And I would ad lib when it was time to leave the room. I'd say, come along, Mr. Vice President. And, or anybody would say something on stage. And if I didn't have a line, I would look at him and go, oh, yeah. And I would just talk to Mr. Vice President all the time in that sort of stilted Teddy way.
Yeah.
And that was fun, because I ended up having another scene partner. Because I would imagine what he was saying back, and oh yes, that's true. Yes, thank you very much. And in a part, Teddy has some wonderful moments, but there's a lot of times where Teddy's just kind of doing his thing, because that show's about Mortimer and the ladies.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been just, I show up and do my thing, but again, where's the fun in that? So I tried to create the rich.
Right.
You know how high school had everybody do character biographies.
Right.
And you'd go into the first audition, the first rehearsal, and he said, now, read your character biographies. And I started to read mine. I said, well, my character was born, he was very sickly when he was young. So he read a lot of books. He was asthmatic. He couldn't have breathing problems, very sickly, stayed inside all the time. And he was picked on when he was younger. I mean, he started boxing to learn how to take care of himself, and that helped him, invigorate himself. And he ended up being pretty healthy, actually. He was involved in the Army. He was the police chief in New York. And I kept going until Haskell realized I was just reading a biography of Theodore Roosevelt that I copied. And he's like, what? That? And he's like, thank you. That will be enough. Because I straight up, like, I found the encyclopedia. This is before the internet even. I found an encyclopedia and just copied it word for word and just reading it.
Oh my God.
And that's how that was just,
Yeah.
that was
him.
me tickling myself.
Yeah.
So,
That was him. What was the funniest thing that ever went wrong on the stage?
This happened just recently.
Oh, God.
When we were doing Metromaniacs Honest Pint over
Great
at
show.
Interact. And my character was a poet who had his little poet notebook. And at one point, I was supposed to pull my poet notebook out and show Sean Brosnan's character the poem I was writing. And I pulled it out of my pocket, and it flew out of my hand into the audience. And Sean and I both went, "Oh, crap. What do we do?" And then Sean just took it on himself to jump off the stage, snatch it up, jump back on stage and give it back to me, at which point we stared at each other and went,
Wow.
and now we're off to the thing.
Yeah.
Because we're like, what do you do? I've dropped the thing on the floor. Oh, crap.
Oh my God.
Luckily, it's quick thinking. There was a time in Robber Bridegroom where my character was supposed to kill this other character. He's supposed to hit him with a stick when he's covered up with a blanket in bed. And I hit it, and the stick I had hit the bed the wrong way, snapped in half, and flew into the audience. Almost impaled a kid.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I've heard a child. But the kid came backstage after and said, "Would you sign this?" Yeah. So that was fun.
That's great.
Okay, one more, and then I'll stop, because this is hysterical. When we did Taming of the Shrew, Jack Prather and I were partners in that. I was Patricia, and he was what's the character?
You and Jack did a lot of things. He's a great actor.
So
as well.
our character came in together, and we had water pistols. We were playing shooting with one another. And out of the corner of my eye, I looked out and I saw Tony Hefner in the audience. And Jack and I both looked at each other and winked and turned and just aimed it right on Tony and just squirted Tony. Not too much, I hope. But I saw Tony's expression. He was like second row at RLT. And I saw Tony, "Oh, look at this. This is funny." And just process, his face went through. Oh, no, they're looking at me. It was like from the producers when I'm wet. Okay. And Jack and I took great delight. I think I bought him some fries afterwards to make up for it. If I didn't, I owe Hefner some fries.
You owe him. Right.
He's even funny in the audience. So it's
There
great.
you go.
Yes. Oh, wait a minute. I thought of one more. Can I tell you one more?
Yeah, of course.
I'm sorry. Inspecting Carol at Rival Theater. At the end of it's the scene where everything goes wrong, and I'm supposed to leave stage, and I'm leaving stage like this because the light cue happened too soon. It went dark. I couldn't see. Maybe I had trouble getting up because it's the scene where the stage collapses.
Oh,
I'm coming off stage like this, trying not to hit a wall that I know is there. And I do this, and I move my hands this way, and bam, like nose first into a 2x4. So I go off stage, and my nose starts pouring blood.
Oh.
And there's a 10-minute scene, the denouement of the program, after this. So I go backstage. I got to go on stage. I'm one of the first people on, so I don't know what to do. I grab Dexter Morgan's T-shirt from him and just shove it on my face. And I walk on stage and do the whole end of the play like this, and it's soaked. It's soaked. So one of the play's over, I go back down, and one of the as I'm getting dressed and dressing my wound, not my womb. I have
Thank you.
One of the ushers, the house manager, comes back, and he said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." Well, one of the on the way out, I wanted to tell you, one of the patrons, I overheard them saying, "That was a wonderful performance, but you think if you have a character that requires blood, they should get good stage blood, because that blood did not look realistic at all." Well, the irony. So.
Oh, the eye.
I was doing a show at Deep Dish, and I made a rookie mistake. It was a Sunday matinee, and during the Sunday matinee, you couldn't see anything when it was dark. And Holmes Morris and I were supposed to do a scene, and I was just uptight, and I'm supposed to be sitting down. So it was dark, and I could not find the chair, and the lights came up, and I just said, "Oh, well, no chair."
Oh.
I don't know why I didn't say, "Just stand up, Larry."
We've all been there, Lawrence. We've all been there.
If you couldn't be an actor or a teacher, what else would you want to do in the acting profession?
I thought about that as well. I mean, either A director or a set designer? The thing I like the most about acting is the creating the character and the world of the character.
Right.
And the directing that I've done with the youth of America, that's one of my favorite parts, is coming up with the world. Because you get the script and the script tells you this.
Right.
And there's certain things you have to have, like you got to have a fire pit because somebody falls in it. It's a plot point. Fine. Other than that, you get to be creative with how does it work. And I think that's why I like the set design as well, because when I've done that, I look and try to find out, this is the bare minimum that I have to have.
Right.
And how can I make it creative? How can I reflect the theme, the concept of the overall piece in the set design or the overall direction and the blocking, setting character spacing. So there's so much in those things that go into the world creation. And
Well, I have to say, I've seen you direct all those kids on stage. No, this is a good thing. All those kids on stage camps. And it's interesting, because you would be down in the green room chatting with a couple of them that are in a scene, and I'd just be walking through like I do a lot. But you were always asking them really important questions to make them think and feel like they've come up with the world you're trying to create. So that was really a clever thing. You're including them in all those decisions, and I think that was brilliant.
Well, if you don't, then the performance becomes little clones of you doing everything. Right. Asking, and then maybe it's the teacher in me as well, asking the student questions helps them find it within themselves, and many times they springboard off that into something even better, because it helps them harness what's inside of them, instead of me just building a suit of armor and popping them in it and shoving them out there. They're creating this organic thing from inside themselves.
Right.
It's empowering.
It is.
And again, collaboration, I think, enhances the art as well. Thank you, by the way. That was very sweet to say.
Well, it's true.
Robbie, if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self when you first started acting, what advice would you tell yourself?
Quit being afraid, dumbass.
I know, but what about you? Not me, but.
Oh, well played, Lawrence.
Whoa.
Yeah, and again, anxiety. There's a lot of moments that, in retrospect, I look back on and think, just jump off the diving board, man. Just go. Well, I might not get the part. Yeah, but you might. Well, I might not, but I might. And I think I was an only child. I still am. And I was always by myself, inside my head. Maybe that's where I got my world creation appreciation. Lin-Manuel would be proud of me.
Yes.
And it was always me. The only person who I had to please was me, because I created it with my little Star Wars characters, and I set up scenes on top of my dresser, and it was me. I was the sole arbiter. And it became uncomfortable for me to put myself out in front of people. Remember I went after I did that Cramp the Donkey program. There was a lady that called it a program one time. It tickled me. How they bring in the old the nursing home audiences on Sundays.
Oh yeah.
We did Arsenic and Old Lace, and I was leaving, taking off and I'd drawn a full Groucho kind of mustache on me, taking all the makeup off. I was leaving, and she was still making her way to the thing. And as I walked by her, she went, "You were so good in the program." So now I call them programs.
The program.
But there was another in Shebby, North Carolina, after I did the Cramp the Donkey program I mentioned earlier. Another audition. I told myself I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it. And my mom was like, "All right." My parents were super supportive.
Oh, great.
Top notch. My dad was an engineer, so he didn't get me, but he was supportive. And I lost my nerve on the way to the audition. I was like, "No, I can't. Because because the only time I'd been on stage before, I didn't audition. They just said, we need Cub Scouts, get out here. So I went and I did it. And it took me a while to get back into it after that. Again, I had to be bad at the violin to get back into the theater. So yeah, and that's just life lessons from top to bottom, man.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid, just jump off. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Right. Yeah, as soon as I could drive myself, I started, wanting to do theater. I mean, because I didn't have any transport. As soon as I could drive myself, I was determined to go to auditions.
Oh.
But we grew up in Southern Pine.
Oh yeah, and
had no theater.
Yeah, once I got old enough to drive, I'm with you. But right. I still feel like I missed out on, and even after that, there were some, even in college, some auditions that I should go for, but I shouldn't. Oh, I just thought of another story. I'll tell you in a minute. Where I should I go for this part or should I not? And so many times, even if I didn't completely get cold feet and back out, it tempered my experience by second guessing myself.
Right.
One time that didn't happen. Great funny story here. Where damn Yankees at the East Carolina University. They had to do auditions and callbacks in the same day because I think it was a weather-related event, like a hurricane or something. I can't remember. Don't ask me.
Okay.
But we had auditions, and they said, everybody sit here, and we'll come back with the callback list. And I was sitting there with Prather. Jack Prather, yes. And we were sitting there talking. He said, what do you think? I said, I think I read really well for Benny Van Buren, the baseball manager. I mean, that's in my wheelhouse. I can do that. And they came back, and they put up the callback list, and I wasn't called back for that part. And I was like, well, crap. So luckily, they were kind of confused because it was all a one-day thing. So they came back in, and they said, okay, anybody that was called back for Benny Van Buren, come with me. And I looked at Jack and said, see you later, buddy. I just got up and went with him.
Good.
And I ended up getting the part. So yeah. That's a moment where I did not let my fear control me, and it worked out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. And it was a wonderful production.
Of course.
Yes, I do say so myself.
What's the first thing you want to do when this pandemic is over and we get through all this?
I'd love to go to a good restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still reticent to go and sit down in places. Mm-hmm. I get a lot of takeout and tip well, because tip well, people, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
But I still got to clean up at home because I've brought it home to eat it. And there's just something, food tastes different when you're out at a restaurant. I want to go to a nice restaurant and sit down and have the whole restaurant experience. I want to see a play and I want to see a movie. And I'm watching movies, I'm streaming plays, I'm taking in content, but you don't get the snap, crackle, and pop
right.
that you get in the room with the energy back and forth. I don't get that.
Right.
I guess the restaurants are the same way. If you get good food, good service, there's an energy. Mm-hmm. As much as food is an art, which it is, mm-hmm. you get that back and forth with a good chef and wait staff, a restaurant experience. And I think that's what we're missing out on, the back and forth, the human interaction, not just the being able to shake hands or touch or hug our loved ones, but just the interactions we have with everyday humans, our server.
Right.
My micro interactions with him, or they can create an experience that we don't get when I wear my mask. And I do wear my mask. Wear your mask, people.
I guess.
That when I wear my mask and go into my favorite Mexican restaurant and pick up my to-go order, I know them and they know me, and we're happy to see one another, but it's not the same.
No.
So there's an energy that passes back and forth between people that we're not getting. So that's what I look forward to. Sorry,
so when this is all over, make us a reservation at that Mexican restaurant, okay?
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
I shall.
All right. Oh, that's great. Rob, thank you so much for joining us and telling us about your life.
Well, thank you. It's delightful to see both of you.
Oh.
And just, again, use polysyllabic words with adults on a Zoom. It's with the children. I love them, but oy.
And we paid attention the whole time, right? None of us were texting.
You were an A+ audience.
Right.
Yes, we talk about our A+ audience skills. Yes. Well, I mean, it's been a delight just to hear your faces and see your voices.
Well, take care of yourself, and we will see each other when this is all over.
Yes, we shall.
Thanks, Rob.
Mwah.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you, Larry.
Bye.
Bye.